9:06 on Tuesday, February 25th, 2025. Madam Clerk, I'm going to call to order the Lago meeting. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Erickson Galt.
Here.
Gershenson.
Here.
Lubes.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Taylor. Here. Hoffman.
Present.
Johnson.
Here.
You have quorum.
Thank you very much. Would you all kindly join Commissioner Erickson Galt in the Pledge of Allegiance today?
The flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes dated February 4th, moved by Commissioner Taylor, seconded by Commissioner Hoffman. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Minutes have been approved. I would entertain a motion to approve today's agenda, moved by Commissioner Lubes, seconded by Commissioner Erickson Galt. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Our agenda's been approved. I will say, so the agenda's been approved with 2 public comments. I'm curious right now, I'm just gonna take a little bit of personal privilege. We have the option of going back to 1 public comment. 2 was a COVID time efficiency, and I frankly don't think for the purposes of this committee that we need to have 2. What are y'all's thoughts? If we go back to 1 beginning or at the end, I'm open.
I say have two,
Have to?
because they might have a thought in the beginning, but then we get through the meeting, they might have another thought that some idea arose in the committee they might want to talk about, my humble opinion.
Fair. Commissioner Taylor.
I think we should have 1.
1.
Yeah, I just think that either at the beginning or at the end, they can just express their thoughts with 1, for this committee. We don't normally have a lot of people at the beginning here to comment anyway, so.
Commissioner.
I think it should be at the discretion of the chair of the committee
And change whenever they're, okay,
and be flexible.
interesting. Okay,
I agree with that then. I can agree with that. It's whatever the
Okay.
chair would like.
well, I appreciate that. All right, well, for today, we'll have 2 and then we'll see what happens moving forward. So, that being said, our first public comment, anyone from the public wishing to address us on any items on today's agenda? Squad at the front of the table? No? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment. And that'll take us to our first presentation. We have online, I believe. Rebecca Lefebvre. Rebecca, are you there? Hi, Rebecca. You'd kindly introduce yourself and then you're welcome to start whenever you're ready.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. Hi, I'm Rebecca Lefebvre, and I am the Oakland Talking Book Service librarian at the Rochester Hills Public Library. In 2023, the Oakland County Board of Commissioners pledged financial support for the Oakland Talking Book Service with a 3% annual increase through December 31st, 2027. The highlights of 2024 include successfully recruiting and onboarding new staff due to the turnover of previous OTBS librarian, hosting the first OTBS Low Vision Fair in partnership with the Leader Dogs for the Blind, and attending the NLS conference in Washington, D.C. to learn best practices and network after a 5-year hiatus. 2025 holds some unknowns for the service since the Braille and Talking Book Library in Lansing was required to bid out maintenance of their computer software and ultimately made the decision to switch vendors. This will require RHPL staff to learn new software as a backbone for managing patrons and circulation in accordance with the state of Michigan. RHPL has a strong IT team to assist with the transition and has developed an efficient method of training staff on technology changes, so we will be able to complete this. That's everything I have to say. Do you have any questions?
Any questions, comments, commissioners? Commissioner Christensen.
Well, I know we worked hard to get this program over to your library, and you're basically feeling this is something we should continue. This is successful, and
I believe this service is something that people who are lifelong readers continue to use. I know my great grandma had this service, and now I am running this program, and it's something that people depend on. So it's definitely a service with a long life.
So you're recommending continuation of the program?
Yes, of course. Yes.
List of the who's here.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? All right, well, thank you, Rebecca. Appreciate that. Let the record reflect that the Oakland Talking Books annual report for the calendar year 2025 has been submitted. Appreciate that, Rebecca. Moving on then to Parks and Recreation. I would entertain a motion to recommend to the board Parks and Recreation item A, which is the approval of the 2025 Oakland County Parks and Recreation rules and regulations. Hello, gents. Moved by Commissioner Erickson Galt, seconded by Commissioner Lubes.
Good morning, I'm Jim Dunleavy, Manager of Park Operations, and I have Tom Hughes, our Chief of Parks for North District. We annually review our parks rules with park staff. We also meet with Corporation Council, and we're here to make a few changes to the park rules, and Tom's gonna go over what we're gonna be making. Tom? Yeah, it's been a couple years since we've done any changes to the park rules, and these changes are based on recently passing the millage and removal of the vehicle passes requirement, which was in the park rules. Also, we did a large update to our campground operation program, changed reservation policies and those type of things. So it's that was reflected in this as well. Motor-driven vehicles, we've had some incidents at our parks with electric motorcycles on the trails. So we want to specifically identify those in the rules as well.
What about those?
Pardon?
What about those electric?
So they are not allowed in.
We're not allowed.
Correct. Only on roads like any other motorcycle would be, because they go up to 40, 50 miles an hour, and that's really unsafe on the trails within the parks.
All right, questions? Yes, Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you. Well, appreciate you guys
Yes.
being here this morning. I do appreciate the electric bikes. I know I frequently use the West Bloomfield Trail Network, and I noticed over the summer that they had speed limits in light of this. And then I know that those ended up being removed, and I don't know the status if they were removed in light of trying to eliminate the electric bikes. While I appreciate electric bikes, obviously from an accessibility perspective, I do understand the dangers truly that they can pose. So I appreciate the update on that. So thank you. Thank you.
Anything else, Commissioner Lubes?
Will you describe what requiring a waiver for rented camping units being delivered is? What's the waiver?
The waiver, so prior to millage passing, a vehicle pass is required. So anybody delivering a camper to a campsite, so somebody had rented one and dropped it off, that satisfied the requirement through risk management and corp council. But now that is gone away, we need another avenue to be able to allow somebody to come into the park and kind of holds them, allows them to deliver without any, if an incident does happen, hold us liable.
How do they get a waiver?
We're in the process of actually now creating that waiver with risk management, which will be completed prior to the opening of the campground season in May.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but it'll be at the contact station. When they come in, they'll have to stop. There's still staff there checking cars as they come in.
Okay, thank you.
Anything, Commissioner?
Thank you very much. Do the parks sell firewood?
Yes,
Okay.
both campgrounds, Addison and Groveland, both sell firewood.
Anything else, Commissioners? I have one. Well, I might have two. No, I have one question and one comment. I'll do the comment first. Comment, e-bikes, totally respect on a park-based trail, absolutely. I do, however, really enjoy them for transit, and I think that they make a really great transit connectivity, last mile especially. So I am glad to see that there's this nuanced regulation of them. Certainly on the trails in my neck of the woods, Payne Creek and Clinton River, I think that those are probably the best bike paths that we have, because we don't have any bike paths on roads, and frankly, on-road bike paths are dangerous. So I appreciate that. My question is a little bit of a nerdy one. In my day job, I work up in Lansing at the legislature, and the hot thing right now is changing all the laws from shall to must, because shall is a little bit gray and must is a real word. And I'm just curious if there's a reason, and I'll try to find it, for instance, that we are changing from like anti-positive language to overt negative language. There was a really good example that I saw where it said like, instead of shall not, is prohibited. It seems like a non-material change to me, but I'm curious what the reason is.
I leave that up to the court counsel, they're the ones that present the
Okay.
wording for that, so. Yeah, Jody Hall goes through every little sentence, the entire document.
Be a good conversation, I'll have some more time.
Yes.
Anything else? All right, thank you guys. The motion on the table is to recommend to the board. Clerk, please prompt the vote. Awesome, thank you very much. I now entertain a motion to recommend to the board item 8B, Community Habitat Improvement Program funding recommendations. Moved by Commissioner Loop, seconded by Commissioner Nelson. Hello.
Good morning, I'm Sarah Cook, Malin, Chief of Natural Resources and Sustainability for Parks. So I'm here to present you with the list for our proposed community habitat restoration projects. This is a program that we've been running for, this is, I believe, our 5th year. So we provide projects to local communities. We don't give them the funding directly, it's not a grant program, but we fund the implementation of the projects on their behalf. So they apply to accomplish a natural resources or sustainability related project in their communities, and then we employ our contractors or our staff complete the project for them just to make the logistics easier. So what's in front of you today is a list of our proposed and recommended projects for you to review.
Awesome. Questions, comments, concerns? I'll start you off with 2. One question which I feel like I asked last year, but just looking at the diversity of communities that are represented, how is this advertised? Because some communities I see are double dipping, but many others are not doing anything. Just
Yeah,
curious.
so we advertise it through our Parks Oaks Notes newsletter, we put it on our social media, and then we also operate the Oakland County SISMA, so that's the Cooperative Invasive Species Management Area, and so we promote it to all those members as well. We do recognize that there are some communities that have not been applying, so we just recently did a survey to all communities. You guys might have seen it on either the executive social media or on ours or on the Parks website, but really asking local units of government how we can better serve them, so how we can communicate with them better, or if there's barriers from them using the program, because it's a really low entry point. The application is just a Teams form. We don't ask anything from them in terms of match or maps, and we will do site visits for them to help them determine what kind of project they should apply for. So it's a very low barrier to entry, so we really want to make sure that people are taking advantage of the program. So that's a long-winded answer of saying we do promote it in a variety of ways, but we recognize that there are gaps, and we're trying to close some of those for our next application round.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you. With the roadside phragmites and knotweed treatments, with the estimated cost, how many treatments is that roughly?
So that's all of the road commission owned roadways in Oakland County. So the road commission contributes funding, the Michigan DNR contributes funding, and then Parks contributes funding. So any road that is a road commission owned road, we do treatment on.
Do you know a number
Of
approximately?
miles,
That for the estimated cost of the 40 grand?
I would have to look up the miles. I don't know it off the top of my head, but I mean, it's definitely in the hundreds, maybe in the thousands. I would have to look it up though.
I'd be curious. Thank you.
Yeah, I can absolutely send it to you and then have it sent out to the committee.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Commissioner Loops.
When is the next application period?
The next application round will open in August. So communities can apply in August, and then there's like a 3 or 4 month open window, so they can apply usually through October or December. We urge them to get their applications in early so that we can come do site visits for them. And they can also just put in an application for a site visit. So if they want to apply in August, they can just say, I want a project, but I have no idea what it is, and then we'll come to a site visit before the application period closes so that they still have time to apply for the project as well.
Thank you.
Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you. Last question. I noticed, obviously, Mr. Chair, you already highlighted the fact that there's various different communities going for different things. For those CVTs who applied, was everybody considered before we started to do doubles of communities?
Yeah, for sure. So typically last year and this year at least, the only communities that were not approved for projects were communities where they had like a logistical issue where we couldn't complete the project. So for example, Beverly Hills applied for a project this year, but their assistant clerk recently left, and she was the person who was going to spearhead the approval process, and no one else was willing to take that on after her departure. So they obviously didn't continue with that funding, but we didn't deny any of the projects based on the merit of the project. So we try to make all the projects fit within the funding amount, and then you'll see some are listed as staff time. So the projects that we can't fit within the funding amount, we will juggle to make sure that we can use our in-house staff to complete those projects as well.
I appreciate the resources for that too, so thank you.
Yeah, we try to make sure that everyone gets something for sure.
For sheer curiosity, do you know the size of that Beverly Hills project?
It was pretty small, so we have funded them every year for the past 5 years. So they alternate between Riverside Park and Beverly Park, and they have been doing like a large scale buckthorn removal project, and then they've also been doing like a native plant restoration along the river. But yeah, so it wasn't like it was a brand new project that they were trying to initially fund. They were applying for continuation of an existing project. So we'll continue to work with them, and I think that we're gonna try to make some new inroads with whoever is there now to make sure that we can get them back on track to continue maintaining the work that we put in there. Because we also want the communities, once they start projects, to keep them up.
Oh, for sure. Right. Yeah. All right. Anything else, Commissioner?
Is there an amount for each project awarded, a maximum or minimum? I see an amount from $700 to $40,000.
So for the community projects, we usually tell them that there's no more than $10,000 available. But some of the projects, so like the roadside knotweed and Phragmites, that one gets more obviously because it's a countywide project, so it impacts all of the CVTs. The total cost of that project is much higher because, like I said, Michigan DNR and the Road Commission of Oakland County also contribute to that. So the cost for the entirety of that program is usually somewhere around $75,000, but that's the amount that Parks contributes. So for those countywide projects like the native plant event or the roadside Phragmites, those have higher amounts, but for the communities, it's usually 10.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Motion on the table is to recommend to the board. Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote.
You have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Awesome. Thank you very much. That concludes our mostly regular agenda. I am now gonna entertain some discussion. Y'all. We have 54 applicants for this single OCHN appointment spot. I am not in the mood to do 54 interviews. So I shall now entertain discussion on how we'd like to whittle this down a little bit so that we can do interviews. Commissioner Gershenson.
So I have a couple of ideas, and certainly however the committee feels it's best to proceed. I did go through them, and I only read the general public ones because that's what we're looking for. And as I said before, the positions are mandated by the state. So I didn't see any reason when there were so many that qualified just for general public. I didn't see any reason to look at people that may have qualified for 2, and there were a fair amount that did. So what I was gonna say is I have some recommendations after going through them of people to interview, and that we should, maybe keep it to 5 or 7 or if we can, but to see what everybody else thinks, and if any of us match on some, that we should do those people just by process of elimination.
I appreciate that. I see both of your hands, but the reason that we did include more people, and Pam and I talked about this a little bit, fortunately, general public is a category that includes everyone else also. And there is no reason that just because you are more specialized, you aren't also a member of the general public. So if someone is exceptional, then they're exceptional, and all of
I
us.
will counter that by saying, if you're in another category, for instance, you work for an organization, we already have that representation. So I didn't see the reason to double dip. I thought it was better to keep it a pure general public person that really didn't have any other affiliation. But, that was just my read on it.
No,
Yeah.
that's totally fair. Commissioner Lutz.
I read through all the resumes and I did choose 5 people who popped out at me, so I agree. Throwing names on the table and seeing who we can agree on to interview.
Commissioner Nelson, I saw your hand.
Oh, no.
Commissioner Taylor.
I have first of all, thank you for doing all the work and all the questions, but when I asked last time, what was the criteria? My question is, I'm putting my HR hat on. Did we talk to the department, the chair of this committee and ask them what are they looking for? Because it's a general position, and I got, thanks to Pam, all of the information and the requirements for that. But what is actually needed for the board to help us to decide? And that's what I'm not hearing.
So we had Dana on last LACO to kind of preemptively talk about this, and at that time, it was very clear to us, although not necessarily clear to her, that John Paul Torres was not seeking reapplication.
Right.
I do remember that we asked about geographic diversity, which is something that I appreciate. No, I mean, from my memory, although folks feel free to recolor it, the general public spot is kind of a weird one because it is general.
Right, so given that, could we, the board, if we know exactly what the chair, if they don't care, and we say general, and I shouldn't use the word they don't care, because they do, but because these are a lot of applications, and a lot of good people, so I don't wanna eliminate people unless we have to. And again, like I said in HR, we get thousands and thousands of and I would not give you 1,000 applications for an opening that you had. I would have spoken with you and gotten a criteria, you say, they gotta have this, and this, and we do keywords or something like that. If I'm doing payroll, it has to have some kind of payroll experience, 3 years or to narrow all of those applications down so that I'm giving you a handful rather than those thousands. So I was just looking for more, and I don't know, maybe it should be how many of these applications do we wanna see? There's in my mind, no reason for us to interview 54 people for a general position. That in my mind, I just can't wrap my head around doing that.
Yeah.
Without further explanation, somebody could help me. But I just felt if we could get a more, and maybe it's just me, clearer direction as to what we want in a general, this is general. So I don't see why we would need that many applications for a general position fill.
Commissioner Christensen.
Well, Lenny, let me just tell you, historically, this is one of the most sought after positions we have. So it was not unusual to me that
Okay.
we had this many applicants. Penny, did Dennis Cowan reach out to you?
Not regarding these
Not regarding-
applicants, regarding the ones who we approved to continue on the board, he reached out and reported he would like to have those people continue.
So it is traditional that either the chair contact the chair. It doesn't have to happen, but in this case,
Dennis and I had coffee yesterday, but he didn't express any. Now, I'm not an HR professional, so maybe he was using words that are like keywords to you that I was like, okay, that all makes sense. I'll be blunt about that, but I did not pick up any, like, we are in a dire need for X, Y, and Z type of person.
well, and for instance, like in one of the general public, that person's a lawyer, so I noted that in my notes. But I know they have lawyers on the committee, so I didn't sense that would be a determining factor. But certainly, that's your prerogative, is to reach out or to ask one of the members of your committee to reach out to the chair. And I mean, we do have a representative, but not from the board. We have a representative from staff, from OCHN here.
That's fine. Yeah, I'm happy to do what, Commissioner.
Oh, no, and I just wanted to know, how many of these do you want us to interview? I guess I just was looking for more of a direction for the board.
Oh, I would like to do no more than 10. I feel like 10 is an aggressively generous number in my mind.
Yeah.
10 is a lot.
Well, 5, that's fine.
Why don't we see where we are? Those that have gone through it, throw out your names and let's see where we are.
Did you want to start, Commissioner Christensen?
Okay, I was recommending interview to Aisha Branner, Kathleen Curtis, Kaisha Walker, a third name that I can't pronounce, it starts with a D. A Gail Giffen, Denise Harris, Carl P. and question mark with Amy Page.
You, okay, I see it. Okay, Commissioner Lutz.
I would like to interview Amy Page also, who is presently employed by Ageways, and I think that would bring a nice perspective to the group. I also have Bina Nagapala, Deidre Mercer, Christopher Smith, and Kelly Daly.
Why do I not see Daly? Oh, Bailey? What were the last two you said? I'm sorry.
Christopher Smith and Kelly Daly.
Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you. I also had some duplicates of names already mentioned. The one that hasn't been mentioned yet was, I believe, Marguerite DeBello. Outside of the impressive professional experiences, I was really impressed with their history, both past and present, of community involvement. Yeah.
Commissioner Christensen.
I just wanted to say about Kelly Daly Flynn that she is also representative of an agency or occupation having worked with mental health services. Or wait a minute. Yeah, so that's why I didn't include that person, just because they weren't a pure general public, which isn't necessary. I mean, it's the same with Amy Page. I didn't know if her being on Area Agency on Aging was a benefit or not. I think you think it's a benefit.
Commissioner.
How about April Brandon?
April Brandon is a provider of mental health services.
Oh, I thought it could be anybody that applied because this is considered general public.
So we, from my understanding, we've got, of the names so far, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 who are exclusively general. And then 1, 2, 3 who are more specialized. Commissioner.
This feeds into the discussion about whether we should just be looking at the general public applications, but I also wanted to recommend Ann Duberstein, who did sign up as a provider of mental health services, but I know is very active member of the public, so I think he has something to offer beyond the fact that he is a provider of mental health services.
So how many is that?
14, I think.
It's more than 5.
That's 10.
14?
14,
So maybe as chair, you wanna go through them and get us down to 10?
I'm okay to do that.
Or
I
I don't
can-
know how everybody else, how do we do that?
I only heard 10 names.
What'd you say, Penny?
I only heard 10 names.
12, I have 13.
13.
You have, how many do you have?
I might have written down a duplicate because I wasn't
You have
sure
15.
which name to pick. D.
There were a few repeats. Anyway, it's more than 5.
Well, how many of them were repeats?
Amy Page was nominated twice. But I also, if someone was already nominated, then that didn't necessarily preclude a repetition. So.
Is 13 too many to interview?
I mean, look, we did the materials management with a healthy bit more than that. I'm not looking to replicate that right now, but
When is it due? When is the
seat opens at the end of March. March 31st.
current term ends March 31st. So the thinking was to interview on the 11th to recommend the board by to be appointed by March 18th. Because that's our last board meeting before the end of the month.
Oh, it is.
How about each commissioner pick one person?
Yeah.
Then you got 6.
I'm fine with that, of the
That's up to
names
them, I-
nominated. From the list that's already out there, yes?
when is it?
Of the 13 people that have already been nominated, all of us pick one person, no
Okay.
repeats.
Okay.
Or if you want to interview 13, I don't have a problem with
But
that.
I really don't want to though, that's the thing, and this is no disrespect to
You want to
them.
get the best.
Stop reading them because it got so long.
Commissioner Hoffman, would you like to go first?
April Brandon.
Commissioner Taylor,
Amy Page.
Name that start with A.
Commissioner Nelson,
Marguerite DeBello.
Commissioner Loops,
Come back to me.
Commissioner Gershenson,
I think I would go with Keisha Watkins Duque.
okay. Commissioner Erickson Gall,
Adam Duberstein.
So familiar to me.
He just went to was on the Hazel Park Library Board. And then he moved on it, so
Yeah,
Um,
I know the name, but
he's very active in that. Probably right.
I'm gonna go Deirdre Mercer,
which one?
Deirdre Mercer. And then Commissioner Loops, just you.
Christopher Smith.
Christopher Smith.
Oh.
Alright, so the names that I have for interviews, April Brandon of Holly, who's a provider of mental health services, Marguerite DeBello of West Bloomfield General Public, Adam Duberstein of Clausen, also provider of mental health services, Deirdre Mercer of Rochester Hills General Public, Amy Page of Beverly Hills General Public, Christopher Smith of Huntington Woods of Mental Health Services, and Keisha Watkins Duque of Ferndale General Public. Correct? Anything else?
It's a good place to start.
It is.
I like the
that.
geographic diversity of that.
Yeah, it is a pretty diverse list. Yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. All right, could we do interviews, normal style, 7 minutes? All right. Hey, y'all, that was nice. That was very nice.
Good idea.
Yeah, good job, Bob. Thank you. That concludes our regular business then today. Anyone from the public wishing to address us on anything at all, please have a squad at the front of the table. You'll have 3 minutes and you can see that right here on this iPad. If you just start with your name and your city of residence.
Good morning.
Morning, John.
The acoustics in this room aren't very good, it's hard to hear the way it's set up. Came down to pay my taxes, several $1,000s. The concern I have is this $50 million for Coulter Towers from the state. I don't know how you got $50 million. That's unbelievable. For what? I mean, this place is a dump and you gotta leave it? It's just, it's beyond any comprehension. So that's really what I wanted to come down and talk about. But, you know, what's wrong with Brookside Tower? I mean, they just redid the whole place they took it over from the intermediate school district. And so you got money that you got from the state. We're at the bottom of the United States for an educational system in Michigan. Bottom, 800 different school districts. They can't even share accounting systems. And the State Board of Education, who's in charge of this mess, one member never shows up, the governor. So that's where we're at. And we got 50 million. That's not even talking about the money they took out of school aid to give to Illich for the hockey rink. They give it to everybody. The Chinese battery factory they want to build. It's just out of control. And if we were leaders in education or in something, it would be okay. But, you know, this place is fine. It's beyond any comprehension to think of this moving. I don't know why, you're all in favor of this thing, or who's pushing this thing? It's stupid. $50 million from the state for this thing. I don't know, I was wondering what are the total number of costs for this thing, the disruption that's gonna take place for this move. It's like, it's just beyond any comprehension. And to think that, you know, we're adults and we're doing this. That's what my concern is. I don't know what else to say. But it's just wasted. The whole thing is worthless. And if that's what you have to do to run this county, there's gotta be something more that you could spend money on than this that would be beneficial. Because I think it's a great place. You know, is the grass too tall or what? What's the problem? That's my frustration. Appreciate that. So beam me up.
I'm sorry, did you say your name?
John Lauve, it's Lauve.
And your residence, did you get your residence?
And I'm in Holly.
I got it. Oh, okay.
And Hoffman's my,
Sure is. Any additional public comment today? No? All right, thank you very much, everyone. I hope you all have a fantastic Tuesday. It's 9:45 and I'm sorry. I see your hand. The second annual Thrive Oakland County Commissioners Reception will be opened Thursday, March 6th from 3 to 4 p.m. Please RSVP by Friday, February 28th. I'd like to recognize and support small business programs and the opportunities to connect with the Oakland Thrive team and meet some service providers. BOC headshots and group photo will be in the BOC Auditorium Thursday, March 6th from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Attire is business suits, jackets requested. Please arrive camera ready. Have your hair and makeup all done. Individual headshots, please sign up via the link below. I'm not reading the link below. for a 5-minute window between 4 and 5:45 for your professional headshot to be taken. Group photo, the group photo will take place immediately before the board meeting. State of Oakland County, the 2025 State of the County Address is at the Berman Center for the Performing Arts, 6600 West Maple Road, West Bloomfield Township. Wednesday, March 19th from 7 to 10 p.m. Please RSVP by Friday, March 6th. Please RSVP is a redundant phrase. If any of you hear me saying, please RSVP, shoot me. That is a redundant thing, I should not say that. If you need assistance with the invitations, please contact our board chief of staff. Any additional new information or other business, Commissioner Nelson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When is our next legislative update?
It is our next meeting, March 3rd. At least that's when sorry, 11th. That's when we've asked him to come, yeah.
Excellent. I know we've got, there's more additional information coming down from the state, obviously when the governor gives their state of the state, but I was hoping to get an update on the 32% potential marijuana tax. I know that many of our communities now have dispensaries. I know in my community, specifically in Waterford, there's a lot of conversations and just a lot of misinformation going around. And I know that nothing is solidified, written in stone, but by the time our next meeting, I think we'll have a little bit more insight and information. And I'm just want to throw it out there that I would like to just get a little bit more detail in regards to that.
From your lips to God's ears, I'd like more than concepts of plans.
Thank you. I will support that times a million.
Anything else? Commissioner Hoffman.
At the last BOC meeting, I introduced a resolution that was referred to this committee. All the time I've been here, I've never been refused to introduce a resolution and discuss it at a meeting, nor I don't think that's ever happened to anybody else here. You
Many
introduce a-
times.
Okay, well, I disagree with that. We have a right as commissioners to introduce a resolution and we have a right to have it heard. And I really don't appreciate the fact that I introduced it, was referred to this committee, and I thought it was gonna be on the agenda today. Now, this morning you told me that I need to talk to you first. Well, I guess that's a two-way street. If you weren't gonna put it on the agenda, maybe you should have called me.
Respectfully, it is not a two-way street. This is my agenda, this is my
Then it should
committee.
be, because it should be communication between all the commissioners.
That's not how government works, Commissioner.
Well, obviously, it's not working in my humble opinion. So how do I get that resolution on this committee? I have to talk to you first and get permission?
Yeah, yes, but even after we have a conversation, it is my agenda. This is how every legislative body works. The chair of the committee sets the agenda of that committee. That is how it works in any state government, that is how it works in any national government. You do not expect a Speaker of the House of the United States of America to entertain every single bill that comes before from that chamber too.
No, I don't, but I expected it at the Oakland County Board of Commissioners.
Why?
Because we have a right to have our resolutions heard, and if you wanna vote it down, and let's discuss it in public. And everybody has the same thing I have, and it's a vote. You either vote for it or you vote against it, but at least it's heard.
Well, if it's any consolation, it is not just you. I can name a few of you whose resolutions
I
that
don't agree with it. Even
Well,
if you do
but
it
it's
to
also
anybody
not
else,
just-
I don't agree with it, I'm
It's
telling
not just people. I am withholding things from Parks and Recreation. I withhold things from HR. There are a lot of half-baked things, and I'm not saying that yours or anyone else's are half-baked, but certainly from the departments, there are a lot of half-baked things that try to get onto our agendas.
Okay, that's
And I
fine.
respect my committee, I respect all of you more than to have a debate over a half-baked thing. And I will really try not to ever do that to you all.
Well, I think the committee can decide that, and I think there's a difference between what a department might want on the agenda versus what a commissioner wants on the agenda. And I just think that these resolutions have a right to see the light of day, and I would object if you told another commissioner I don't care what side of the aisle they're on, that they can't have a discussion on this. So I will call you, and hope you will put it on the next agenda.
Okay, looking forward to a discussion.
Thank you.
Anything else? Seeing nothing else, I'm going to conclude at 9:51. Everyone have a good day.